Good morning, economists. This is Mr. Beckstrom. What I've got for you today is a little rundown on consumer choice and utility maximization for the AP Microeconomics course content. So, as you can see, there's a little cartoon that kind of captures the concept of utility maximization, or the concept of there can be too much of a good thing. The fellow, when he has no shoes, is quite sad. He gets very happy the more pairs of shoes he gets, but at a certain point, he gets to have too many shoes. Where am I going to keep all these shoes? I have no storage for all these shoes. I can't even use them. I have so many pairs of shoes, I'll never wear them. I'll just put them in a display case in my closet and look at them and post about them on social media or something. I don't know. I guess you can really never have too many shoes, can you? Anyhow, there are plenty of things that you can have. And the main skill that you need to use today for this lesson to complete these problems and to get a full score in the AP test is to think at the margin. This is an early on example of thinking at the margin that's just going to pop up again and again and again later in the course in units 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. It's one of the most important things that we do in AP Microecon. This is an example of a problem from way back in the curriculum in the first semester. You might remember that seeing the movie the third time isn't worth it, even though the total benefit still outweighs the total cost, the total benefit of 50 utility dollars outweighing the total price of 30. Seeing the movie the third time only reaped $5 worth of utility dollar benefit, whereas it still cost $10 to see the movie the third time. So, shouldn't have seen the movie the third time. You've probably experienced something like this before. Perhaps it's eating an entire Little Caesars hot and ready to your own face, or it's getting that third plate full of food at the Thanksgiving dinner, whatever it might be. At some point, you're going to experience a diminishing level of utility for yourself in consuming things. There's a fun experiment you can do while you're watching this video at home. Go ahead and take, if you want to pause the video now, go grab some candy. I know, if it's first thing in the morning, maybe you don't grab candy, little bits of cereal. It's pieces of Fruit Loops or M&Ms or something that's fairly uniform. Even though M&Ms have different colors, they all taste the same because they're all chocolate. So M&Ms work pretty well. Lay them all out in a row, and so you can count how many M&Ms that you're eating. And then record what you feel is your own personal level of satisfaction from eating each individual M&M. So eat one M&M at a time, and after every M&M, take a moment to reflect on how satisfying it was. And write that number down on a piece of paper or a little note on the side. As you continue to eat M&Ms, you will eventually find that the marginal M&M, the last M&M that you just ate, starts to satisfy you less and less. And eventually you could see a negative benefit from eating the most recent M&M, eating the 500th M&M, probably it's going to give you a stomach ache. So you can get into a range of negative marginal utility. So that might look something like this. This is slices of pizza. Let's say there's 8 slices of pizza in a pizza. You consume the whole thing. First slice gives you 8 utilities, dollars. So we'll keep these in dollars. Sometimes you also see these expressed in some kind of fantasy unit called a util. Doesn't really matter. The problem is solved the same way. So the marginal utility or the marginal benefit from the first slice of pizza is going from 0 to 8, like this. You can think about drawing little triangles right there. I don't have my annotation tool up here, but you can imagine. So 8 utils for the first slice of pizza, utility dollars, 6, 5, 4, 2, 1, 0, and then, man, you shouldn't have eaten that last slice. Really, you shouldn't really have eaten the last 2 slices because they're pieces of pizza that just make you end up feeling sick. Anyhow, if the price was $2 and the marginal utility here is expressed in dollars, you should eat the first piece of pizza because you're gaining more from it than it's costing you, $2. The second, yes, 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 you should eat that 5th piece of pizza, but no, you should not eat that 6th piece of pizza. So what we're going to do when we solve marginal utility or how many questions like this, how many units to consume, and it will come back again in Unit 3, how many units to produce for a firm. We want to consume until the cost of the additional unit of consumption, in this case $2 per slice of pizza, is equal to the utility of that most recent piece of pizza consumed, or again, unit produced if we're talking about a firm here. But not beyond that. So remember, marginal analysis is just a very simple set of yes/no questions. So it's a yes, 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 and then eventually it's going to be a no, and that's where you stop, and that's where the solution to the problem is. So continue to consume until marginal benefit equals marginal cost. And marginal benefit will fall below marginal cost for the most recent slice of pizza at some point because of the law of diminishing marginal utility. And that's what I was describing a moment ago when you continue to eat those M&Ms. Maybe you're eating them right now. Eventually, your utility, your usefulness, or your satisfaction from the most recent M&M eaten is going to start falling off. And if you were to graph that, that's what you should see. Here's another example. If you were to go to Bali, you might get 3,000 units of satisfaction. Chicago, 1,000 units of satisfaction. It's a little cold now there in the wintertime. Bali, though, is 6 times the price of Chicago. So just looking at these numbers, without having calculated the marginal utility per dollar, we can see that Chicago is the better bang for your buck. You get 2 utilities per dollar as opposed to going to Bali to get you 1 utility per dollar. So what we're going to do is to take this idea of the law of diminishing marginal utility, and we're going to combine it with this calculation of utility per dollar, so we can compare 2 different things. So this is 2 vastly different things: a trip to Bali and a trip to Chicago. We need to be able to compare so we can choose. And when we compare, we have to kind of compare apples to apples, so to speak. So we take the perceived utility, in this case, of going to Bali or going to Chicago. This would be also, by the way, unscientific, of course. If you're from Chicago and you have lots of family there, maybe you get more utility. If you're from Bali and you have lots of family there, maybe you get more utility. And so it's more worth it to do one or the other. In this case, what we've done is taken this generic example and reduced it down to utility per dollar, so we can see that Chicago gives us our better bang for our buck. And we're going to use that in this type of problem. This type of problem will appear on the AP test, and you are going to be practicing it here in a moment. All right. So let's just say that you could go to the movies and it costs you $10, or you could take a couple of laps on the go-kart track. 1 round of the go-karts cost you $5. And here we have your marginal utility of the movies and your marginal utility of go-karts. This information will typically be given, and then it's up to you to divide by price to get the marginal utility per dollar. So how can we compare movies and go-karts? Movies give you more total utility. Go-karts cost less money, so we got to reduce it down to utils per dollar. The calculation is very simple and straightforward here. And then what we put on top of that is that you have $25 as a budget constraint. So this is the way the question is typically posed by the College Board. How many times should you do the movies? How many times should you do the go-karts, given all of this information? So let's do the division quickly. We see that the first unit of movies gives us 3 utilities per dollar. The first unit of go-karts gives us 2 utilities per dollar. And filling in the rest of the chart, we get information that looks like this. So movies and go-karts. Now what you're going to do is you're going to spend your $25 in order of which one gives you the biggest bang for your buck, or the most utility per dollar. So the first thing that you're going to do is see a movie, because that gives you 3 utilities per dollar. Then you're left with this choice between see a movie again, or a different movie, I suppose, or I guess it could be the same movie, at 2 utilities per dollar, or do the go-karts at 2 utilities per dollar. The preferred solution here from the College Board is to mix it up a little bit. So if you're faced with a 2 and a 2 like this, you want to do the other one, the one that you haven't most recently done, to get some sort of combination of these 2 things. And then spend $10 more on the movie, and then that's it. You're out of money. So $10, $15, $25, and you don't have any more money. But if you did have more money, you would go back to the go-karts first. These problems will always, in my experience, be worked out for you to have an even solution just like this. You're not going to be left with dollars left over that you can't use. Right? They're not going to give you like $28 of a budget, and then you have $3 left over. The budget numbers always work out. So if you've solved the problem and you're like, oh shoot, I have $5 left over, that you've probably done something wrong, because the College Board almost never asks the problem that way. All right, so here's the formula for you to write down. The consumer's utility maximizing rule is that you want to set marginal utility of good X divided by the price of good X equal to the marginal utility of good Y divided by the price of good Y. Now, if prices remain constant, which is a typical assumption for this kind of problem, and marginal utility falls for each additional unit you consume, you can play with how many units of X and how many units of Y to consume, increasing one, decreasing the other, in order to make these two fractions equal. So remember, consuming less of good X will make this fraction value go up. Consuming less of good Y makes this fraction value go up, and more of good X would make the value of this fraction go down, and so on and so on. So let's do this practice problem here. What you're given is the quantity of apples consumed and quantity of oranges consumed, and then the total utility. Notice you're not given marginal utility. So you can go ahead and pause the video to work out the solution to this problem right here. Now that you've taken a moment to solve that problem, let's go over the solution. So you've got total utility here. What you need to do is find marginal by subtracting one cell from the previous. So the marginal utility for one apple is 20, 15, 10, 5, 2. That's quite easy to get per dollar because apples cost $1, so divide by 1. Over here, total utility for oranges, we got 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. For oranges, you need to divide by 2 because oranges cost $2. All right. So if you've done all of that calculation, then the problem kind of solves itself. First thing you should do is buy an apple for $1. Then you should buy an orange for $2. Now you spent 3. Back over here, there's 15 more utility to be gotten from the second apple, so spend $1 more on that apple. Now you've spent $4. Again, over here, now you're going to get 10 additional utility from the second orange, utility per dollar, so 20 total additional utility, 10 per dollar. So consume the second orange, and now you spent $6. You have $1 left to spend on that 10 utility per dollar apple, so you end up with 3 apples and 2 oranges is the solution to this problem. Let's do one more practice problem. Here is a question that the College Board has asked on the AP test at some point, I think in the last 15 years or so. Sasha is a utility maximizing consumer who spends all of her income on peanuts and bananas, both of which are normal goods. Go ahead and read the problem there and solve it. You can pause the video and we'll pick it back up with the solution in just a moment. All right, and now for the solution to this problem. I've worked it out right here so you can see. Our marginal utility for peanuts, for the last unit of peanuts consumed is 8. The price of peanuts is $1. The marginal utility for the last unit of bananas consumed is 4. The price of bananas is our unknown. We're trying to solve for that. So we have that algebraic expression, marginal utility over price, set those two equal. We know that we're supposed to use that because it says Sasha is a utility maximizing consumer who spends all of her income on peanuts and bananas. So when they say she's a utility maximizing consumer, we're assuming that this is true for her. Marginal utility of 1 divided by price equals the marginal utility of other divided by the price. So 8 over 1 equals 4 over our unknown price of bananas. So the price of bananas is 0.5 or 1/2. And that's what the AP College Board scoring guide says. On this particular part of this particular problem, you would earn 1 point for calculating that the price of bananas is 50 cents, and 1 point for stating that Sasha will purchase fewer peanuts for part 2. Thanks very much. Good luck on the test, and I'll see you soon.